Hello and welcome to my backup guide. In this video I'm going to be going over all of the backup classes as well as their pros and cons, what they can bring to the table, and what backups do in general. So let's dive in. Let's start with Hero. Hero is a pretty good class with like average bases and average growths. It has good strength and speed growth, and unlike most classes that either excel in one or the other, this runs both of them. So if you have the right unit with the right bases and the right growths, Hero can complement them and make them pretty good at general combat as well as triggering Brave Assist. So normal chain attacks from backup units happen once, right? But if a hero is at level 5 or higher, they unlock Brave Assist. If they're at max HP, every time they make a chain attack, they attack twice. So you get double the damage, so that's 20% of max HP of an enemy, which is pretty good. And they also are really good users of Dual Assist, which allows them to extend their chain attack range, but it also makes it random, so you have like a 70% chance to trigger this at range. So whatever their attack range is, in this case, because she has Javelin equipped, everything in the red and the blue is considered her attack range, even if there's like physical things in the way, like if there's too many things for her to actually Javelin this in the way, it'll still consider that within range. So for example, if a unit was here attacking, it would still consider this a viable space for her to chain attack from. So it basically allows you to have a 70% chance to trigger the double chain assist on Hero. The next backup unit we have is Picket. This is a unique class that only Tamara can run and is arguably her best class. Picket is just a normal backup unit that has a basic chain attack, but it also has Sandstorm, and she also has crit reduction, so incoming crits are reduced by 5, which is nice. But Sandstorm allows Picket to randomly deal extra damage based on the dex level of Tamara. She can also run things like Lance Power and Speed to 1 round consistently. She's also quite a fast unit. Generally speaking, Picket is a bruiser, tank, or off tank that can go into the fray, fight things, go for sandstorms, go for kills. So in this case, I'll just go for just like doubling here, just put huge damage on this boss enemy. If we get a crit or sandstorm, great. If not, oh well. But she also acts as a backup unit as well as a combat hard carry. The next backup we have is Warrior. Warrior is considered to be one of the best classes in the game for combat. It has good strength and speed growth as well as good base strength and build. It also has respectable base speed, often being fast enough to double. Warrior is one of the best classes because it can make use of axes. There's crit axe builds, there's brave axe builds, there's just general doubling builds. There's also the fact that it has bow access, and certain warriors have up to B rank in bows. And C rank bows gets you killer bow, steel bow, long bow. So all of those are pretty good. It also gets you the radiant bow. And essentially one thing that's nice about Warrior is the fact that it can be a good combat unit that can also poke with longbow, double with longbow in some cases, and also you can get the backup range of longbow. So if you look at the range here of Saphir, she can get up to 4 range if you use the Clawed Ring, which is part of the base game, not part of the DLC. It gives you range +1 at full health, so you get up to 4 range. But the nice thing about Warrior is flexibility. You can one-shot flyers easily. You can shoot enemies at range with bows. You can enemy phase 3 range enemies with longbow. You can contribute by killing something with an axe, having an ally attack something else, change the warrior's weapon to like a longbow so it extends its backup chain attack range. So it's this flexible, good combat class that, you know, I would say Hero, Warrior, Pickets, these are like the top tier. We'll go over the other ones as well, but these are like the better ones for sure. Warrior also has one of the best passives in the game, Merciless, deal plus 50% damage against broken foes. This is exactly what it sounds like. If something's broken, you just do 1.5 times damage to it. So pretty good passive, especially when used with the Fracture Staff or just when used with breaking in general. Similar to Warrior, Berserker is an axe backup, but the problem with Berserker is that it's only axes. It also has a very low dex cap of 32 that most units you put on it will hit that cap. It does, however, have higher strength and build growth over Warrior and slightly higher base strength, but it loses bow access and the flexibility that Warrior brings, so it's generally considered inferior to Warrior. Panette starts out in Berserker, and she can stay on this role throughout an entire playthrough. All she'll need is like some kind of hit fixing or hit plus engraving, and she'll do fine. But generally speaking, Berserker has better offensive growths than Warrior. Warrior is slightly faster, and I think it has slightly higher speed growth, but it has less build and less strength growth. So the idea behind Berserker is that it just wants pure damage at the cost of accuracy, and unfortunately, it loses flexibility and is basically just a worse Warrior. But it still is just a good, basic backup that you can use on Panette for a while until you second sealer into Warrior. Berserker's passive, once unlocked, just allows you to smash foes up to 2 spaces instead of 1 with smash weapons, which is not really the most useful thing, but that is what its passive does. Next we have another Lord class, Successor. This is Diamant's class. So Successor is just your standard backup unit. It's kind of like a bruiser unit, like most backups. Diamant has low dex and low dex cap, and the passive of Successor is called Soul. You have a chance to trigger healing for 50% of damage dealt, regardless of player or enemy phase, and that trigger is based on his dex level, so generally it'll be around like 20%. So 1 in 5 hits, regardless of player or enemy phase, will heal him for half of damage dealt. This is decent. It's not the best thing, and there's definitely better options for enemy phasing and tanking, but it's okay, and sometimes it triggers when you need it, but generally it just triggers randomly. This is an okay class. He's reasonably fast. He's not, the worst unit. I've been using him in a more recent run, and it's pretty good. It also has S rank on swords and A rank axes, which is kind of nice. So you have some flexibility with your weapons. The next backup is Halberdier. Halberdier is an interesting class because it has good bulk, and it also has this ability Pincer Attack, where if there is an ally on the opposite side of the foe you're attacking at 1 range, meaning melee range, you will attack twice. You'll always double. So if you want to go for like quad Brave Lance, you will always quad guaranteed. You will always double with whatever lance you're using as long as it can double. So great weapons like Silver Great Lance cannot double, so you can't pincer attack with those, but you can pincer attack with high strength, low speed units, and it basically bypasses any speed requirements to doubling. So units like Amber, who generally just want to go for damage, can get away with just going for damage, and they don't even have to care about their speed. Now obviously when they get attacked, they'll still have to worry about their speed, so you do still want them to be somewhat fast, but it can be a good class for slow units that have high strength, and it's just a basic backup outside of that. To wrap up, we have Swordmaster. So Swordmaster is kind of a meh class that most people don't run. It can be decent with enough strength and damage fixing. It has really high speed but low strength growth, so this is like its main problem. It also has a kind of weird passive that can be situationally useful called Run Through, where when you make an attack, you move on the opposite side of the foe. So this can be useful for setting up pincer attacks in a way. So you could have this unit kill and run through one unit and then maybe canter behind another enemy so that your Halberdier can then pincer attack. Both Halberdier and Swordmaster, I would say, are considered much worse than like Hero, Warrior, and Picket, at least by me. Some people might debate on Picket, but I've consistently run Picket on all my playthroughs and it performs really well. But Swordmaster has low strength and very high speed. It can go for crit builds, it can go for sword power builds. It can still be good, it can still be viable, but its main standout thing is its speed and the fact that it has Run Through, which allows you to extend your movement by moving 2 additional squares, one over the enemy, so you basically get +2 more move, and you also can move through enemies while attacking, which can be useful for surviving. If you have canter and you're really fast, let's say you attack some enemy, get on the other side of them, and canter out. If there were other enemies behind you, for example, or if you just wanted to get closer to more enemies to position for chain attacks, you can do that. So it can be useful in that way, but it's definitely not good on dual assist like Hero is. Hero's the best dual assist user. The rest of these, I would say, you probably don't really want to run dual assist unless you just want to run a Saphir on Longbow or something like that with dual assist so that she can have insane range when chain assisting. But that's pretty much it for the backup guide. Overall, backups are really good units, and your team will always benefit from having at least 2 or 3, especially if they're heroes with dual assist, because then all of your attacks just have a random chance of getting extra damage at range, or guaranteed or almost guaranteed extra damage when the backup units are actually next to enemies. So if you have like 2 heroes on your team and they're just in the middle of a bunch of enemies, they can set up kills, go for breaks, or at the very least, you know, deal extra damage off of chain attacks for free, which can make killing bosses easier and make killing difficult or fast targets easier, especially like those Wolf Knights and Swordmasters and heroes of the late game, and Griffin Knights. But yeah, thanks for checking this out. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Feel free to become a channel member if you want. We also do a live stream from Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. EST, where it's mostly Fire Emblem games. But yeah, peace.